What's up everyone, my name is David Arroyo, and in this video we're going to be talking about using Blender to create concept art. So normally Blender is used for 3D modeling, animation, rendering, all these kind of things, but you can also use it as a step of the process instead of the entire process. And that's what we're going to do when applying it to concept art. So I'm going to show you a few examples. In this video in particular, I'm going to focus on environments. In a future video, I will tackle characters and props. So what do you say we get right into it? Okay, so what we're looking at right here are a few shots from a Blender file that I've modeled. It's an apartment, it's a 3D file, and once I've exported all these shots, then I imported them individually into a bigger file that I could draw over. This was done in Procreate in this case. All these drawings, I'm focusing on detail, and then eventually I added color as well, because in concept art, color is extremely important to set the mood, the tone, and it gives you a bit of an idea of what that room is. And of course, I've added the black and whites here because I love black and white stuff. Anyway, so let's have a quick look at that Blender file. All right, so let's have a very quick look at this Blender file. It is low poly, so I didn't construct too much detail into the apartment when I made it. You will notice that it is built in separate parts. This was done so that I can remove walls when I need to move cameras. I'll show that in a second. Obviously, the cameras are here as well, so they're different cameras. And I also have on this side, I also have, where is it? Yeah, some human references. So if I pop them in, there you go, you can see them. These are just there for measuring purposes. Now, talking about measuring, one very important thing that I tend to do, actually I use all the time, so let's quickly select a wall. If I go to my edit mode, I can then quickly see measurements. I hope this is visible on camera. Or in YouTube, but here it says 2.5 m, which means 2.5 meters in height, and I have that for every side that I touch, or whenever I want to modify anything, I use measurements. It's very similar to what you do in SketchUp, really. This is quite an important little thing. So that's one thing that I use when I model. You can turn that on and off. First you have to go into edit mode, and then you can go here, and edge length is what will basically showcase that. Remember to always modify in edit mode, otherwise your measurements won't add up anymore. Right, so that's one little thing. And I've also added lights. Now, these lights, again, they're just, as inspiration. Here you can see it. So this is the scene that's lit up. It might go a little bit slower because I'm recording the screen. Let me also remove the menu here. I'm recording the screen plus also there's sound, so it might slow things down a bit. But what I can do, maybe to make things a whole lot easier, is just go to the cameras. So when I click on the camera, I can go there, and the first camera, if I'm not mistaken, I have to pull out one of these walls. Let's see which wall it was. Let's go back to 0. Camera 1 is this one right here. So then I would have to remove the right wall. See, now if I remove the right wall and I go back to camera 1, then I can see exactly, the shot that I used for the drawing. Okay, so again, human reference doesn't have to be there, can be there, but it's not necessary. Same if I go to camera 02. You've got your camera 02 here, which is the shot from the kitchen. Camera 03 is the hallway shot. Now, obviously for the hallway shot, I did have to turn the right wall back on. There's also a ceiling. If I'm not mistaken, the ceiling is right here. So that one you add as well. As a matter of fact, I think that one was also added in the other camera. Camera 04, I think for that one I'll have to remove the right wall again. Yeah, because this was a shot of the bathroom. Then camera 5 was the bedroom and a part of the bathroom. And then camera 6, if I'm not mistaken, was from the outside. So for this one, I think it was the back wall that I had to remove. Yes, I removed the back wall and then I ended up drawing it back in a different way. So this is basically how I do it. I basically build the model and then I take out, or I take out walls that I need to take out, which is a good tip for you guys whenever you need to take certain shots and the camera just can't reach. Well, just like on a movie set, just take out what you need and just take the shot. The walls can move, which is important. And also you have different type of lighting. Another thing that might be worth looking at is, and this is something that we will be looking at a little bit later, maybe in the next video, where I will be talking about characters as well. Let me put the back wall again. There we go. So I have human reference. So these are models that I've made myself, quite useful for measuring things. If you want to measure how high to place certain furnitures or how big to make a bed, like here, that's one thing. But I also have post figures. Okay, and these are a little bit more detailed. I've also modeled these figures, and I think for this, I think it was not camera 5. This shot was, let me see, I think it was camera 2. So again, if I go to camera 2 right now, you'll see that the wall is in the way. That's why I created these walls separately, so I can take them out. So this is another shot that could be used as a concept art piece. Now, the way I do it, once I have the perfect shot, once I know that this is the shot that I want, instead of rendering and going, doing an actual render, like here, for example, so here you can do a render image or F12, I actually just go to view and I do a viewport render image because that provides me all the information that I need, and it goes super fast. Okay, now it might go a little bit slower because obviously the whole thing is on recording and stuff, but there you go, you got the render, and that I save, and the image you can just save, save as and so forth. You just save it anywhere, and then you draw over it, you do your paint over. So that's something to keep in mind. And there you have it. So that was the little piece I wanted to show about the file itself. I'd say we move on to actually seeing how I do the paint over itself. All right, see you guys on the other side. Okay, so the very first thing that I focus on when doing paint overs like these, especially because it's an interior, I focus on details and more details. So it's important for me to do some searching. The first searching phases are done in pencil. Now the second phase, which I'm doing right now, is inking, and you'll also notice that I'm only focusing on one of the panels at a time. That is very simple because I like to test things out before I reproduce them. So in this case, I wanted to test out the look, the feel, what kind of style I'm going for this concept art, because there are many different ways of approaching it, like you've seen there. For a little moment, I was playing around with the idea of making it look very comic book-like with the very strong, harsh shadows. I stepped away from that, made my line art less intimidating, and let the colors do more of the speaking. Once I got the first panel more or less the way I want it, that first shot, then I move on to the second, third, and all the rest. And again, here now, this time, instead of doing the pencils, inking, and so forth in one shot, I basically do them all the other shots. I do first the pencils and then the inking and so forth. Now, it is not a requirement to do the inking or the pencils. I mean, this is just a choice you make. Me, I like to get some line art in there before I start adding colors, especially with interiors. Like I said, the details are very important. But if you are more of a painterly type of person, go ahead. paint away, you know. You can get a lot of detail in from painting as well. For these type of shots, I just like a little bit of more, you know, tight lines that kind of dictate the direction in which it's going. So as you can see right now, I've moved on to doing the actual inking. So, and in this second phase, the reason why I do a pencils first and then an inking is because it gives me like a second chance of reevaluating my lines. Okay, so the first pass is just kind of like to find the designs, find the elements that I want there. That second pass, which I use as an inking pass, is kind of to reestablish and, you know, reaffirm the decisions that I made in the first phase during the pencils. Now, this comes from the comic book way of doing things. You know, those of you that follow my channel will know that I do work a lot in comics. I like comics, and a lot of my work is comic related. But again, you don't have to follow that same way of working. I have other videos on my channel where I take a completely different approach and I start painting straight away, and there's no line art, or at least a minimal amount of line art. Here now what you're seeing is me adding in the colors, and by colors I mean only the local colors, so the color of the items themselves. After that, I added an additional pass, like a color layer. It's kind of like adding an ambient color on top of all the base colors, so that it creates some type of you know, gelling of all the colors together. Then I added a shadow pass, followed by a lighting pass. The shadow pass is just a separate layer in multiply with blue, like a blue color, and I apply that to everything. So that same blue goes for pretty much the entire room. And in lighting, I give a few different colors for light. Now, you don't have to do it this way. Again, you know, with the shadows, you can do many different shadows, but it works for the, you know, for the style that I was going for. It works, and because of that, you know, I decided to just stick to it. Here you can see me doing some last final changes here and there, adding some final details, changing some lighting in some of the rooms to create a better balance. And so yeah, there we go. This is what the final result looks like. So based on a little bit of help from Blender, I've managed to get these shots in. They are thumbnails, so don't forget that it's not going to be all with perfect detail. The line art is not going to be crisp. They're still thumbnails. So it took me maybe about 6 hours or so to do the paint over with all the colors added and stuff. So, you know, again, it's just a quick view. But the important thing is that whatever you add in your concept art, well, you can feed back into Blender again at a later point in time, like for example, the TV on the ceiling. So just food for thought. And there you go. That is how I use Blender to create environments and turn them into cool concept art pieces. Now, if this is the kind of stuff that you would like to know how to do in specific, so where literally I teach you which button to press in Blender and, you know, which functions and all that stuff, this is possible. I could create a how-to series specifically for using Blender in concept art so that you don't have to learn all the extras. So it would be a quite targeted course. But before I would do that, I need to know that you guys actually really want this. So if you do, leave a comment in the section below, you know, in the comment section below. Let me know, write something, say, yeah, you would like it. And then if I have enough of you guys asking for this, then no problem, I'll be more than happy to do that. Right, so that's it. If you like this type of content, as usual, leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video where we will be focusing on using Blender to create characters and props for concept art. Right, see you then. Take care.